70+% of all new freight brokers and freight agents struggle with this problem. I know that's a strong statement, but the reality is it's true. It's probably closer to 80% in reality. And this is one of the most common problems that I've seen in the last 15 plus years since launching my online freight broker training program that you guys probably know as Freight Broker Bootcamp, okay? So it's one of the most common problems that I've heard and ran into with students, new students, okay? The interesting part is that no one wants to talk about it, okay? No one wants to talk about it. No one wants to admit it. And I understand why, because I was the same way. I struggled with the exact same problem when I started my freight broker business. Matter of fact, every business I've ever started, I struggled with this exact same problem. And I definitely didn't want to talk about it, okay? It's a little bit embarrassing and you have to be a little bit vulnerable. And sometimes we have a hard time doing that, right? Unless they're close friends and family around you. And sometimes that's even difficult. So today, I'm going to share the problem plaguing most new freight brokers and freight agents. So if you fit into that category, I want you to lean in because believe it or not, it's not sales, it's not negotiating, it's not finding trucks, it's not rating shipments, it's not how to get shippers, okay? It's none of those things. Drum roll, please, okay? So here's where we're at. It's called imposter syndrome. Now, hang tight because that's probably not what you expected. But in this freight broker training, I'm going to share with you, first of all, what is imposter syndrome, how to recognize it, and how to get past it. Right? How to overcome imposter syndrome as a new freight broker or freight agent. So first, what exactly is imposter syndrome, right? So I looked up the definition because my definition is different, but I wanted to make sure I hit it on the head. So the definition is the persistent feeling of being a fraud despite evidence of success, often accompanied by self-doubt and or a fear of being found out as unqualified. Has anybody felt that way? Raise your hand. Has anybody felt that way? I know I have. I know that I've struggled with that my whole life. And I know a lot of people do. So as a freight broker, it shouldn't shock you if you're new to this business as a freight broker, freight agent, that you have some of those feelings. So again, not only am I going to share with you what it is, but I'm going to share with you kind of how to recognize it and how to get past it. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Hold tight, okay? I promise you, this training could have a huge impact on your business, whether you've already started your business or whether you're just looking to start your business, because I'm sure some of you are struggling right now with imposter syndrome, okay? So first part, why are freight brokers and freight agents so vulnerable to imposter syndrome? Well, as a new business owner, as a business owner in general, you know, there's no exact roadmap. There's no boss, right? You're wearing all the hats. And so it's just you. So you have that pressure, right? There's that pressure of performing, right? There's that pressure to look like you have it all figured out, right? There's always that pressure. You also have social media comparison trap. I call it compare-itis, right? Compare-itis is comparing your chapter 1 to somebody else's chapter 10, right? They're way further ahead in the book than you are, and you're comparing your results to theirs, right? So compare-itis is a term that I coined many years ago and is a real problem, right? And then last but not least, you've got your entire self-worth tied to the success of your business. So those are some of the reasons why freight brokers are vulnerable, why entrepreneurs are vulnerable, why freight agents are vulnerable to compare-itis, all right? Now, here are some signs that you might want to pay attention to see if you are in the midst of imposter syndrome, right? If you're dealing with imposter syndrome and you don't even know it, right? So recognizing it is very important. So here's a few. Self-doubt. You're constantly questioning your abilities and your competence. So you're constantly questioning your abilities and competence, right? So that self-doubt, if you're seeing that or hearing that or feeling that self-doubt, that's an indicator that you might be dealing with imposter syndrome. Another one, fear of failure, right? Fear of failure, an intense fear of being exposed as inadequate or unqualified, right? So I think that's the one that most people can kind of recognize. They're like, well, who am I to become a freight broker? I didn't have any trucking experience. I didn't have any logistics experience. Well, guess what? Neither did I. When I started my business, I had zero experience. You probably know more right now than I did when I first got started, right? So it's that intense fear that you're going to be found out that you're not qualified. Perfectionism, another one, big one, right? You strive for unrealistic perfectionism, right? Unrealistic standards, and, just basically being overcritical of your work, okay? I mean, there's some pros and cons to that, but that's definitely an indicator that you may be in the middle of imposter syndrome or struggling with it. And the last one is a paralysis by analysis, right? Being overwhelmed by self-doubt and unable to take action, right? Or make decisions because you're not sure which way to go, right? Your paralysis by analysis is you looking at every piece of data out there in order to make a decision, and then that paralyzes you, not allowing you to make effective decisions quickly. Okay? All right, so now the important part. How do we overcome imposter syndrome? Well, it's not easy, but it's possible. So if you want to learn that, make sure you hold tight, because I'm going to walk you through a few steps that's going to help you get through that. And the first one is what I said earlier on, is you have to recognize when you're in the midst of imposter syndrome or when you're struggling with it. That's the reason why I pointed out those indicators, right? The last part, right? The signs that you're dealing with imposter syndrome. That's the reason why I pointed it out, because you need to recognize you're there. A lot of people don't even recognize it. They just are frozen with fear that they're going to be found out because they feel inadequate or unqualified, right? Number two, document your wins, right? Every win that you have, and every win doesn't always mean $1, right? It doesn't mean $. The small wins, the big wins, document your wins. Every customer you get, every lane you win, every load you move, every goal that you hit, right? Big or small, document it, because that's going to help build your confidence, and that's going to help build your momentum, and that's going to get you out of that imposter syndrome mindset. Okay. Number three, you have to reframe your mistakes as opportunities. Now, what do I mean by that? Everybody's afraid to make mistakes, but the fact is we're all going to make mistakes. That's the way it is. We're going to fail our way to success. That means we're going to make mistakes. So you have to reframe those mistakes and those errors and those little failures as opportunities, because every time you make a mistake, the most important part of that process is what you learn from that mistake. Okay. So you have to learn how to reframe mistakes into opportunities. Don't be so afraid to fail. Don't be so afraid to make mistakes. All right, that's number three. Number four, this is a huge one. And this is one that I didn't really have the opportunity when I first got started, and that is talk about it. Talk about this with your peers and your colleagues. Find a group on Facebook or LinkedIn, or develop a small group, new freight brokers and freight agents or new entrepreneurs in general, and talk about what you're struggling with. Talk about the imposter syndrome. It's the reason why I'm here today talking to you about it, because I want you to talk about it, right? It's very important that you understand it's okay to have imposter syndrome. Some of the most successful people in the world, in every field you can imagine, have felt imposter syndrome at one time or another in their career. And some of them, like myself, still struggle with it today. Okay. And then number five, this is the key, right? You got to take action. You can't wait for all the moons to line up, right? You can't wait for all the lights to turn green before you head to work in the morning, right? You're always going to be late. And so confidence comes from doing, not from feeling ready or over preparation, right? Confidence comes from doing. So you have to take action. Whatever those goals are, you got to take small steps every single day to move forward. That's going to build that momentum. That momentum is going to build your confidence. That confidence is going to get you out of that feeling of imposter syndrome. Okay. So I'm going to tell you my personal experience. I remember first got started in sales back in 1992. I had zero experience in sales. I was still in college. I was green as the grass. I had no idea. I got hired into a company for sales over the phone. And apparently I BS'd them in the interview because they hired me. I don't know why, but I didn't have a clue. And I see all these people around me making phone calls and they sound great. And I was scared to death. Okay. I was scared to death. I had no idea. I remember the first day, I'll bet you I was there for 8 hours. I'll bet you I made 4 calls, maybe 5. Okay. I was scared to death. And so that was a situation where I didn't feel as though like I was qualified. I didn't feel as though like I knew enough. Right. And so I overcame that. And within 6 months, I was one of the top salespeople in the office. And every business that I've started since then, I've felt the same way. Perfect example. When I started my freight brokerage, I had people around me. Some people were very supportive, but I had others saying, Dennis, what do you know about trucking? What do you know about logistics? You don't know anything about it. You've never done it. And so that creeped into my mind. And I was saying to myself, you're right. What do I know about this business? Who am I to start a freight brokerage? So that self-doubt creeped in. And then guess what happened? I started the business. I got my first shipment. I moved my first load. And then all of a sudden I realized if I can move 1 load, I can move 2 loads. If I can move 2 loads, I can move 10 10 loads. If I can move 10 loads, I can move 100 loads. And now I've got a business. Okay. So I looked at those little successes and I realized that, yeah, I don't know everything, but that's okay. You don't have to know everything. You don't have to be an expert in every part of your business in order to start having wins and be successful. Okay. So those are a couple of examples of stories. Another one is, when I started my YouTube channel back, geez, a long time ago. I don't even know when it was, maybe 2010, right? 2011, somewhere in that range. Getting on video was terrifying. I was like, oh my God, who do you think you are shooting these videos and putting them on YouTube? Nobody's going to want this. Everybody's going to hate it. You look like an idiot, right? And so the positive affirmations that I got from doing it, posting them, the comments and the likes and the feedback, that fueled my competence and my confidence. And then I was able to navigate that. Now I've done hundreds of videos and I'm well known to be the top freight broker trainer on YouTube by far. Okay. So if you've ever struggled with imposter syndrome, okay, drop me a comment and let me know which part of this hit home for you. All right. And if you're struggling with getting started as a freight broker and you're looking for a roadmap from A to Z, right? You're looking for someone to kind of hold your hand and walk you through this process. Check out freightbrokerbootcamp.com. Trained over 10,000 students, had that program again for over 15 years. And we offer a 60-day, 100% unconditional money back guarantee. So listen, I hope you guys appreciate that. Make sure you hit the like button. Again, comment below if you've ever struggled with imposter syndrome. And I appreciate you guys being here.